On behalf of the Friends of the Rail Bridge, I thank you for taking time to attend this special announcement regarding the bridge that's in front of you, but behind me, a true iconic image of the Bismarck-Mandan communities and certainly for the state of North Dakota. I want to just introduce at least one guest. We have a member of the Burleigh County Commission here, Mark Armstrong. I don't know if Mark he was here, maybe he's just walking the trail. Mark, thanks for coming out. And I also want to put out a shout out to Grand Junction Subs. They've provided us some subs that we're going to feed you with later. We stashed them in the shade, so don't go away. We'll feed you a sub when we're done. A quote from a gentleman, Montgomery Schuler, who was an editor and columnist for art and architecture in New York City during the, quote, Gilded Age. He wrote at the opening of the Brooklyn Bridge, a bridge constructed at the same time as our beloved bridge, 1883. And this is what he wrote. It so happens that the work which is likely to be our most durable monument and to convey some knowledge of us to the most remote posterity is a work of bare utility, not a shrine, not a fortress, not a palace, but a bridge. What an appropriate way to describe the significance and value of our beloved bridge. It is my pleasure to introduce Amy Sacrison, North Dakota's representative for the National Trust for Historic Preservation, for a very special announcement.
Thank you, Mark. The National Trust for Historic Preservation has been protecting America's historic buildings, landscapes, and neighborhoods for more than 60 years. Places like Antietam National Battlefield, Jamestown, Virginia, Washington's Mount Vernon, and Roosevelt's Elkhorn Ranch have been threatened by neglect, insufficient funds, inappropriate development, or insensitive public policy. Every year in May, local preservation groups, state historical societies, businesses, and civic organizations across the country celebrate Preservation Month through events that promote historic places and heritage tourism and that demonstrate the social and economic benefits of historic preservation. And each year since 1988, the National Trust has identified a list of America's 11 most endangered historic places. It is with both great excitement and deep concern that I announce today that Bismarck-Mandan Rail Bridge has been named by the National Trust for Historic Preservation to its 2019 list of America's 11 most endangered historic places. Make no mistake, the historic 1883 rail bridge, a local icon and American landmark, is in dire threat of destruction. According to the National Park Service, and I'll quote, "Historic places have powerful and provocative stories to tell. As witnesses to the past, they recall real events that shaped history and actual people who faced those situations and issues. Places make connections across time that give them a special ability to create an empathetic understanding of what happened and why," end quote. Loss of this bridge should be unthinkable to us. It is so much more than stone and steel, the span of its silhouette against the horizon. It holds profound historic and symbolic significance in the American landscape, in the fabric of our nation. It is a bridge to our past and understanding who we are, a bridge to our future and the promise of what can be. That's my statement, and I will now be reading a statement that was submitted by Jay Clemens, who is the Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And I quote him, "As a Bismarck-Mandan native, born in Bismarck and raised in Mandan, I am delighted to support the local and national efforts to preserve our old railroad bridge. Few structures embody so many of the complex historical themes associated with the opening of the Upper Missouri region to settlement, opportunity for immigrants, and corresponding dislocation and subjugation of Native peoples. the economic and political power of the railroads, the resulting rise of prairie populism, and the strains and opportunities associated with an increasingly smaller world and faster access to information and commodities. Many of these themes challenge us as much today as they did when the bridge was built. I love the thought of the bridge becoming a pedestrian walkway, a place where local residents and visitors can enjoy beautiful vistas of the Missouri while contemplating past lessons and future challenges. And those are Jay's comments. I appreciate that he made the effort to do that, as he's a little bit more exalted in the trust network than I am. I would now like to introduce Claudia Berg, the Director of the State Historical Society of North Dakota, and the North Dakota State Historic Preservation Officer. Claudia?
Hello, everyone. It's a great day to be here. As mentioned with the Brooklyn Bridge, when we see the Brooklyn Bridge or the Golden Gate Bridge, we recognize them for their place in history, as wonders of technology, as icons of a place, a time, and a present. When we look at this rail bridge in our own backyard, it is as nationally and regionally significant for what it represents. The 60 miles of the Missouri River right around Bismarck-Mandan between the Garrison and Oahe dams is host to a national heritage area, a national historic sites, numerous state historic sites and parks, and recreational trails. The rail bridge is an integral piece to the history and experience in this region. Spanning the Missouri River in 1883, this bridge was completed the same year as the Brooklyn Bridge. No one would think of tearing down that bridge. When traveling, visitors want to experience the icons of a special place. In Paris, for many visitors, it's the iconic Eiffel Tower. I feel that the rail bridge is our Eiffel Tower. It's immediately recognizable and representative of a special place. And by the way, this bridge is 6 years older than the Eiffel Tower. In an age of almost everything being disposable, our grandparents and great-grandparents who lived through the Great Depression and our children today recognize the value of recycling and repurposing what we have. This bridge should not be thought of as disposable. We must respect the past, repurpose the present, and build for the future. A new bridge is welcome. We should also recognize the value and potential of the rail bridge in the decades to come. For Bismarck-Mandan, for North Dakota, and for the Missouri River, this bridge matters. Thank you.
You know, we should have called BNSF. Maybe we could have timed it to have a train come across. It came across just a few minutes ago, so. What a wonderful and exciting news for Bismarck-Mandan and all the supporters and fans of our bridge. This designation by the National Trust for Historic Preservation clearly indicates the significance that this bridge holds across our community, our state, and now our nation. And it's just not local. So my thanks to Amy and Claudia for sharing the most recent announcement. I love that quote with the Eiffel Tower, that we're older than the Eiffel Tower. Cool. Burlington Northern Santa Fe has undertaken the permitting process to construct a new bridge to span the Missouri River here at Bismarck and Mandan. By federal statute, there is a prescribed process known as Section 106 that BNSF must follow to obtain the necessary permits from the United States Coast Guard. Friends of the Rail Bridge, along with other private individuals, local historic organizations, and state, local, federal agencies representing a wide variety of interests, have been involved in this process. I think it's important to note this process continues. Forb feels it is important to note that no final decisions have been made. Friends of the Rail Bridge continues to work with the Railway, the Coast Guard, the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation to address all the concerns involved in this project. So what's the next step? Friends of the Rail Bridge invites people to become involved. Check out the Facebook page, join our organization, and advocate for the purposeful and meaningful discussions and efforts to save and repurpose this irreplaceable part of our history, culture, and legacy. Success stories can be found all across the country of communities that have shared a vision and a commitment to do something bold. I want to just mention before I conclude, we've got an instrument or a device here called a stereoscope from one of our board members here, Dr. Nick Bradbury. There's some cool pictures of the bridge. We hope that you'll come up and check out this stereoscope, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And also a placard that tells a little bit about the bridge. And again, before you rush off, we've got some sandwiches to share and hopefully a little visit. But let me just close with this. Bridging our past to the future is a real possibility for us here in Bismarck-Mandan. Just as the construction engineer for this project, George Morrison, seized the opportunity to design and build this wonderful structure, we have the opportunity to save this bridge for all of us and for future generations to enjoy and learn of our past and dream of the future. Thank you for coming out today. Enjoy the beautiful North Dakota day.